President Donald Trump and the canceling of signing a bill to increase supply of housing. There's a lot of discussion about this housing affordability, where we stand right now, and so much more. Joining me now live in the studio is my favorite real estate agent and also the founder of the Perna team, Michael Perna. How are you, my dear?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm always great to see you in the studio and talk all things housing and beyond. Talk to me about today and what this all means.
So this is really interesting. I found this whole thing really interesting. So we've got this bipartisan bill. It is the most aggressive bill to try to help out with home ownership costs and not only buying homes, but also repairing them. I'll talk about that we've seen in over 30 years. And when I say bipartisan, I mean in the Senate, this thing passed 85-5. In the House, it passed 438-32. That's amazing. That's literally, it is as bipartisan as it can get. And it's sitting on the president's desk waiting for a signature, which I'm hoping that he's going to deliver on sometime in the next couple of days. I really do hope for that, because what this bill does is, first, it keeps institutional investors from buying single family homes. So any large investor that currently owns 350 or more properties cannot buy more properties. What I do like about this bill is it allows for them to build those properties and then produce them as rental units if they want. So they're not taking housing stock away, but they still have the ability to produce and maintain rentals, which we also need in addition to new building and new homes. One of the larger problems that we have here in Metro Detroit specifically, is the average sales price in the city has now hit $100,000, but that means there are still a lot of properties in that $50,000 to $80,000 range. Up until this point, it's been very difficult to get a loan. In fact, it's been a loan desert for FHA, VA, and conventional, because there's some high costs that the lenders have to pay themselves. So a lot of lenders and banking institutions say, look, we're just not going to do loans below 100. We're not going to do loans below 80. And that's where, again, you've got these cash investors coming in, swooping up, picking up all these properties, whereas your regular everyday people, they cannot buy these affordable houses because they can't get the loans. So there's a 4-year pilot program that's built into this through HUD, targeting those costs to bring them down, to make it lucrative, and giving bonuses to lenders to give these loans out where they not only would not make money, but they would go backwards before, so they had to turn them down. And then finally, one of the things that I really like is I saw a report the other day showing that the cost of maintaining homes, like repairs, have gone up over 40% in the last 5 years. I'm talking roofs, windows, HVAC. Part of this program, part of this bill, and it's a 59-point bill, it's a big one, is being able to give low interest loans to people and grants to people to help maintain these properties as these costs have just gotten, frankly, through the roof.
I mean,
that was a bad pun.
It's a lot. I mean, look, no surprise to any of us. It is expensive to buy a home. It is expensive to really upkeep everything. But on top of it all, taxes are a big issue too.
Yeah.
Which surprises me. When investors come in to buy properties, how do the taxes come into play on these properties? Are they paying these enormous amounts of taxes?
Yes. So especially in a state like Michigan, where we have two tax rates, we have what's called homesteaded and non-homesteaded. Homesteaded is a lower tax rate for people that are buying the property to live in it. Non-homesteaded, so the state of Michigan says, hey, if you're rich enough to own 2 homes, we're going to tax the other one 40 to 50% more. So usually that's 15 to 18 mils on top. The taxes do get quite expensive. But again, in a city like Detroit, where you can buy a property at 60 or 70,000, rent it out for 1,500 to 1,800 a month, it actually makes sense. The numbers are financially equitable for that landlord and for the tenant.
So, Michael, with that being said, for someone who doesn't live in Michigan, where their homestead might be another state, and then they buy a property here, the taxes aren't as bad, right?
The taxes aren't as bad. And we still have to take into consideration the pop-up tax, which is a very, very Michigan thing.
There's a pop-up tax too we got to worry about?
Yeah, there's a pop-up tax.
What's Uncle Sam doing to us?
Yeah,
is it Uncle? Yeah, what is a pop-up tax?
That's a great question. So the pop-up tax is in the state of Michigan. The longer you own a home, it's not that the taxes get cheaper, they just don't raise as fast as everything else, wages or anything else. And so what that looks like is every year that you own a home, taxes go up a little bit. Now that's capped at either the inflation rate, which traditionally has been around 2%, or at most 5%, period. So over time, you get this disparity about what that current owner's paying versus what the next guy is going to pay when they uncap and move up. Ooh. More recently, we've seen these become thousands of dollars per year. So when you're looking, if you're looking on Zillow or Realtor.com or the multiple listing service or anywhere that you're looking at homes, whatever those taxes are not going to be what you're going to pay when you buy the property. So before you tour that home, please ask whichever agent you're working with, hopefully it's me, shameless plug, please ask whichever agent you're working with, hey, what will the taxes be for the next homeowner? You can also Google that. If you go to michigan.gov/property taxes, there's an actual property tax estimator. So you can pop in and find out what the taxes are going to be, but your real estate agent should be doing that proactively for you.
And on this conversation, is it worth the call to check with an assessor to see if anything has changed or if anything needs to be changed?
Yes. Absolutely. And then as well, during the inspection period, I would definitely call the building department, make sure that all permitting has been closed out. There wasn't anything that was done like ad hoc or like homegrown maintenance items. Like you see a new furnace, but there's no permit for a new furnace. That means the city to inspect it might not have been installed properly. So those things you want to make sure to check during that home inspection period.
I want to talk to you briefly too about housing prices. I feel like the averages are constantly going up. Do we have an average price now in Metro Detroit?
Yeah, so right now in Metro Detroit, if we take out the city of Detroit, we're slightly north of 350,000, including the city of Detroit. That brings us down a little bit closer to 300,000, but that combined with a 6.5, almost 7% interest rate, plus our Michigan property taxes, we're at the lowest affordability point that we've been since the mid 90s.
And
simply put,
it's just mind blowing. I remember the days when you could pick up a property for really, I mean, even in Detroit, I mean, they were like almost under 100,000, maybe 50,000 for certain homes. Now it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
It is, yeah.
Michael, as far as lakefront properties, is the real estate available now? I feel like a lot of, the nice areas, whether it's Charlevoix, Petoskey, Traverse City, certain areas that attract a lot of people, are those still available?
Those are available, but they are very few and far between. I mean, I have a couple of lake clients right now that are looking even closer in here to Metro Detroit, and it's been very sparingly coming up on the market, a good lake home on a good lake, frankly. And they're not making any more lakes. They're not making any more land that borders lakes. So when these do come up, they command a extreme premium and they go very fast. In fact, if you're looking at like a New Buffalo Township further out, we're seeing prices between 3 and 12 million on a daily basis. Wow. Not every once in a while anymore, but literally on a daily basis. Even closer in here, one of my agents just showed a home, roughly $3 million on Upper Straits Lake. That property is not going to last on the market very long. It's going to go pretty fast.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. And right now, do you have an idea of what's the most expensive home that's up on the market in Metro Detroit?
Yes, there's one in Orchard Lake. If I remember right, it's on 8 acres. It's on the lake. It is $25 million.
I'm sorry, what?
Yep, $25 million.
$25 million.
And if I remember correctly, it's a little north of 18,000 square feet, not including the 2 gatehouses.
Tom,
it's a
you want to go check this thing out? I mean, it's only $25 million.
Do a walkthrough?
It's got a bowling alley. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
By any chance, does this also have a basketball court? I might have seen this. Okay.
Yep.
One day, Michael Perna.
Yeah, that's me dreaming. Those are my Zillow dreams right there. Like
I just
go and scroll and yeah, I
really
still love looking at property.
I also want to talk briefly about, completely on the side of, we're leaving the housing market for a little bit. I want to mention something about American-made cars. Mm-hmm. There was a discussion that recently came up about the list of the most American-made cars, and this list kind of surprised me. Can you talk to me about this?
Yeah, so that was really interesting. Like I saw a Jeep on there, which I kind of expected. But the most American-made cars are all foreign. They're all foreign. It's crazy. It's like the Hondas and the Toyotas, right, and all of these cars and manufacturers that I definitely would not have expected. I didn't see very much General Motors. I don't recall actually seeing a General Motors vehicle. Or Ford vehicles. Those were not there as well. I am a big General Motors guy. My father worked for General Motors for 37 years. I've only driven GM products, thinking I'm trying to support Americans, support local UAW and whatnot in the local economy. And come to find out, I should have bought a Honda.
It's funny to even think that way, because I actually recently had a conversation with Congresswoman Haley Stevens about this, and I said, if we do create a ban on Chinese automakers, I feel like that would affect us well beyond just bringing in their vehicles here, because all of our vehicles are made overseas. I mean, if you think about it, I remember I had a Chrysler Sebring, all the parts were Chinese made.
Yeah.
So the list of most American-made cars is...
Absolutely. And one thing I do want to note is, if my dad's watching, I'm so sorry. I did not mean it when I said I should have bought a Honda. That was just a joke. That was a joke.
Take it back quick.
I love my General Motors products so much.
Take it back
Definitely
quick.
taking that one back. But we are seeing some more manufacturing come into the area here, which is very cool. Over the last
Yeah.
couple of months, there were a couple cool projects announced in and around Lake Orion, which has had a lot of just vacancies industrial-wise. Now they're going to be building the seats for the Escalades, as an example.
Oh, nice.
Ford's got a couple of projects going where they're going to be doing some more assembly as well. I know Stellantis is pouring money into the area. So I think we're going to see that manufacturing come back a little bit, especially as there's still talks of tariffs.
You know what? That's good to hear because a new report just came out about GM laying off more than 1,000 people. Sorry to your dad, but not to talk about GM here, but they're adding 50 robots.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, so this has nothing to do with production and losing workers, whatever. But a lot of people are saying, no, it does. You're getting rid of the American workforce for robots. But you know, I used to be a business owner. I get it. Costs can be pretty tough.
It is.
So-
It's especially tough, especially when it comes to labor and here in the United States.
Yeah.
It has always been a tough thing for businesses.
Michael Perna from the Perna team, how can people find you and follow you?
You betcha. The Perna team on Instagram, thepernateam.com, or call me at 248-425-5082.
I appreciate you. Thank you for always giving us everything we need to know, whether it's housing or in this case, automakers. We appreciate you.